The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, welcome to the weekly Noyantis Usergroup meeting. Today is the 12th of October 2020. Myself and John are your hosts. Just do one particular task here, sorry, a little housekeeping. As always, if anyone's got any queries or questions or ideas, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll get the mics opened and we'll cover the content accordingly. Okay, we start with usual updates and so on before jumping straight into content. So updates, a new beta has gone out to select people regarding the docking panes. Sorry, 1 second, message is coming up. Yep, a new beta has gone out for the docking panes. Now, the particular app I wanted to show, I can't because it's an actual customer's proprietary application, so I can't show it in that. But I can walk you through some do's and don'ts, if you will, which should help. So take, for instance, I'll use our Schedule It application. I forgot to mention, online with us today is obviously myself and John. We've got Wengel, who's one of our apprentice developers here at Noyantis, and we've also got Ben. Unfortunately, Ben hasn't got a headset yet, but he will have. But Ben is also part of the Noyantis team now. He's joining us as an apprentice developer as well. So in weeks, in months, and time to come, and so on and so forth, then hopefully you'll be hearing from Ben and Wengel, and they can pick up the slack when I'm not here. That would be good. Okay, so yes, basically docking panes. So did some changes regarding getting it closer to being in a releasable state. I'm still aware of a couple of little let's say niggles, for want of a better term, but they are literally things like that, like a redraw issue and so on, where I've started to correct those. But we run the new update in a couple of our applications, all very good, all happy. This is one of them, which we've demonstrated on many occasions and so on. But there's one other application where we heavily use the docking panes, and it's like I say, it's a proprietary customer's application, so I can't actually show it. But imagine, if you will, here. So we've got our docking panes, we've got our panes, multiple panes defined, and you open them basically one at a time. So for example, we could open our alerts pane, and then we can open our form definitions pane. And basically one pane is opening, the other is still running and open. So let me say, for example, I go to locations. There it is, I'll choose Mansfield. I'll go back to our alerts, choose bad payer, go back to our location. We'll be back on Mansfield. That proves that the windows are still open, the panes are still active. They're just hiding and unhiding, like a sleight of hand, if you will. Now, on the other application, as the application opens up, imagine this is a dashboard, then they get multiple panes all opening with their content inside of them. So they've got report controls on them, a bit like this, if you will, report control, field picker, maybe some other controls like the command bar. And what we were finding is we could get the occasional GPF. There was no particular pattern to it, so to speak. It was, to a certain degree, random, and it did cause a little bit of concern. So the other application, it demonstrated itself in the other application rather than in this and Trando, which is one of our other applications and so on. And the only main difference was their dashboard, if you will, does open multiple different threads with their content all at the same time. So imagine this one procedure here. This in turn opens, could be 3, 4, there's some screens which open 5, 6 different child threads all at the same time, all hosted in their own panes with their content. After quite a lot of searching, tracking down, and debug. And believe me, it wasn't easy. We actually tracked the error down to inside of the actual ActiveX and the application of the theme. If it was an external theme, if it wasn't an external theme, if it was a built-in theme, you didn't get the issue. So that was quite a step forward to start with, which we was quite happy with. So that that was a step forward. Of course, then we've still got to find why we're getting the particular issue, and we're going to have to put it down to lots of different threads, all attempting to try and load the external file all at the same time, which of course isn't a good idea. We don't want it to happen. So we changed the approach, we changed the class, and that beta, which has gone out to, I know Steve is here, so Steve, I'm just going to open up your microphone. Steve, I think I put you on the spot. I don't know if you've got a microphone or and so on, but that's just gone out to yourself and Bill, who we'll be hearing from in a second, because I know Bill's got some questions on his system. I think they were relating to stability, so we'll take a look at his. But they are ultimately, we were finding the issue was related to the loading of the external themes in very quick succession. Now you've got to remember these themes are shared across the whole suite. So let's say go back to this example where I wish I could show the other system, and if in weeks to come this system will have the dashboard type approach, so I'll be able to demonstrate it and schedule it. But imagine, if you will, there's 5, maybe 6 different panes on this one screen. All of them obviously have their own content. So you've got the panes on there, you've got the report controls on there, you've got the command bars on there. So there's 6, 12, one for the host, 13. Actually, no. Yeah, there's 13, and the field picker. You're talking maybe 18, 19 different separate controls all hitting that same one theme file all at the same time, or in very, very quick succession. And yeah, we've narrowed it down to that. So we've done some changes to the internal class, so our core class, our common class, if you will. We've done some changes to that to wrap them in what you call a critical section. For those who don't know, basically it's critical sections are basically a technology which basically let you lock the system, so to speak, while it's just doing that one. There's a more technical term to it, but basically imagine, if you will, it's a locking mechanism used very carefully, of course, to make sure you don't end up with a deadlock situation. But basically we lock, apply the critical lock, we load the theme, and we unlock, and so on. So that's the approach, I would say. So that's a change to the class. But for your applications, I would also suggest another tip. And it's something that we do naturally in our applications, and I would suggest you do also. So let's open this, okay? And we'll actually just go into that 1 second. This is actually running an older version of the thing, but that's irrelevant. Okay, so our application starts. There's our exe, and we'll start with that. Okay, we'll take an example. It doesn't really matter. Report control, mention that one. But we see we've got plenty of controls: a property grid, a task panel, DockingPanes, command bar, and we're using external theme, Office 2013, Outlook style. Okay, but the main thing is we're using external theme. Now, during the initialization, we have the app frame calls a little host window. On the host window, I ensure that we have all of the types of controls. So for example, I've got my docking pane because I need it, got a command bar. I also have a report control, we don't use the report control on this window, but I make sure that it initializes it. Calendar Pro is on there, and the property grid, even though this window we don't have the requirement for a property grid. We do this twofold. One, we can ensure it registers the control, which we want. And two, if we go to any of these, choose property grid. Okay, we're not using it on the screen, but I want to make sure that it can be initialized. It is initialized, so we have it on here anyway. And then if we go across to, just waiting for it to open, we go across to our global resources, and I can say on the theme and the language, use the global extension settings, which means for this, it's going to say load Office 2013 and apply the Outlook style from it. And the language, it's going to, if we've got a language, I haven't on this, but you might have in your applications, you would use the language, load the language DLL and so on. So they would be applied, and we've got that. The property grid, and of course you would expect for the report control. Oh, I've got that one. There, and so on. And we do that at that level. So back to our application, which is there. There's our host. Well, our host window is technically here. We don't have a property grid, but it's initialized, and more importantly, the theme has been loaded. Okay, but just imagine, as in our applications, you have a report control, or sorry, in our applications, you have your dictionary tables, and you have your local variables, and you have your global variables. And the control itself actually has something similar. So we'll stick with a property grid. We mentioned it a minute ago. Okay, the property grid. We know it gets initialized, that's fine, but it also has this global settings, which is ultimately, yeah, it's a set of globals. One of which is the resource file, and your resource file, which is your language technically, and your resource images, which is your theme. Okay. What that means is, during your application, within your application, once that has been loaded, this global settings, it's available to any other instances of that control within the entire application. So, for example, I initialized a report control on this screen. Now, if I go into any of these, that's an empty window. That's what Ben is just doing his training on, the categories option, so ignore that. So alerts. So we've got our command bar. I've got the Outlook 2013 report control here, and so on. So we've got our style. That style is actually being picked up from the global that had been initialized during the docking window, during this dock window. So the way I do that is just jump back. So there's our host window, our dummy window, we use it for our docking content. Each one of these will have the setting to load the global settings. So use global. And of course they are specified in the global. Now if I jump to one of the others, I'll jump to say config, where we saw the other window like the alerts and the locations and so on. So we said, was it alerts? I think it was. Doesn't really matter. All the screens are the same. We've got our controls on here, our action command bars. We'll go to our command bar. Just wait for it to load. Go across to our settings, and instead of using the global, we'll say inherit setting from an existing control. And what that is doing, and the same with the language, and this will be the same with, I could choose any of these. If our settings are correct, and I want to know why they're not, these are set to inherit. I'll go to our report control. There's our report control. Oh, Okay, I said I want to know why. That's I'm going to change that. That should be set. Because what that is doing at the global there is it's reloading, which means when you come to, we're initializing, we set property grid there, that happens to be report control. It's irrelevant. We could open the report control and it's got exactly the same. All of the controls do. So we will have our physical report control and the global settings with the two settings we said before, resource file, which is language, resource images, which is images and themes. So what that is doing is when that screen, a minute ago, when that screen was opening, it was actually reloading the settings into that global area, but we don't need to, because that global area has already been initialized and loaded with the correct language and the correct theme settings, which means we can take some of the workload off every one of our procedures. One, it makes them load faster because it's not having to go off and load the language and load the theme and then apply it. It can just take, well, not really apply, it still has to be applied, but we can take the workload off the opening and the loading and putting it into the global section. And I firmly believe that is part of the stability issue with the DockingPane, because through, as I say, with some trial and error, we did track it down to the loading of the theme when it was really in very, very quick succession, which, of course, opening 5 or 6 threads all at the same time, one after another, could cause that kind of workload. I'm glad to report, since doing the particular change, and I think it was last, Wengel, was it Wednesday? You with the change, the stability of the DockingPane. Last week, yeah, but we're thinking Tuesday, Wednesday last week. And I can hand on heart, and always honest with you guys, always honest anyway. We've done these changes in the application where we could get the random particular issue, and we could get it obviously on different machines manifesting itself, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. We've not had one hiccup since applying that particular change, so the results are dramatic, which I'm really, really happy with. So I would definitely suggest anybody using not even just using DockingPanes, anybody using the controls, just use that tip. Basically, have one window during your initialization, which we all have, maybe, off your app frame or something like that, or maybe a login screen, something like, I mean, the other system's going to use Sequin 7 login screen, and on that Sequin 7 screen is the controls. They're all hidden, you don't get to see them, but they're all initializing and they're all loading the theme. So they're all set to load global extension settings, and then throughout the entire application after that, we can set all of our controls to inherit, and they work that way, and it takes the workload off every one of your procedures. So any questions on that? Does that make sense? No questions. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm going to make a note so I can put on here. One second. Okay. There's some updates also in progress. So basically, that's some changes which I would definitely recommend everybody adapt and apply. There's some updates to report control which are in progress, some of which I'll cover in a minute. But I know, John, you've got the report control beta of the new one, and you mentioned a particular issue maybe with, you say it was the controls, the columns.
Yes, it's different than it was, I guess. And I haven't had time to really investigate and see, but there's some problems with the size of the columns, the width of the columns. And
can we see your screen?
Something else. Yeah, sure can. Hold on. Okay, grab it.
Okay, yep. Let's bring that
Right,
in here.
so
Are you using save and restore?
no.
Oh, okay.
This is how it should look. This is it's a slightly different version of the software, but
Okay.
this is how it should look when it comes up. Then I just added the new templates in, and this is how it's coming up. I'm not even sure what this is. I haven't figured out which control this is yet. It's showing up over here.
Field
But
picker?
the width. This? No, it might be another report control.
Oh, okay.
I do have two report controls on the screen, but one of them's hidden, and so I think it's a hiding right or something. I'm just not sure now. But anyway, you can see this U one gotten way wide. That's when it first comes up. Both of these are just on first launch. If I click here, it'll kind of reformat itself. A little bit slow at the moment. There we go.
So is this
Still not
manually
quite
loaded?
right.
Or is it
Yeah,
enhanced?
manually loaded. Nope, manually loaded. Just using the regular add row and child row and all these
Got ya.
things. And if I go back, then it's better, but not.
And let's look at your
just
old
going on
version.
there.
Can I see the old version? Yeah, so I'll dig into it. I really just took a look at it. But that's literally after applying the new update.
Yes.
Just let me look. I've got the history open here because I've just been doing some. So in the old one, there was the code job compatibility. That's fine. Data loading was optimized. There was a work regarding the new built-in save and restore layouts, but you're not using that, so that shouldn't really have applied to yourself.
No.
Then you've got the new methods. You've got the options on the gain, focus, visibility. So no, I'm not seeing. Yeah, I'm not seeing any change on that. Okay, can we have a look at your settings for that report control then, please?
Okay, so here's the screen. So you got this is a report control here. This is one here. So I think that one part might be this not hiding like it used to or something. I'll figure that part out. But this is the control.
It's report control, yeah. Okay, so manual, okie dokie, columns. Oh, hang on. First of all, appearance. Row view, not select. And the next tab on that one, please. No, it's not that. Next one. Something about no, it must be under options. Sorry, then it's under options. Because there's one regarding rows. Allow row selection first. No. Maybe sorry, columns, please. Column auto sizing, so it's going to fit them all into the particular area. Okay, so yeah, so that's going to allow them to all go in that area. Fine, right? Okay, I needed to check that one, and then the individual columns. So let's have a look at your SKU to start with.
Okay, so this probably blank. Yeah. So I've got a class that sets everything up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So okay.
Have we got those settings? Okay. Where's your class put its code? Because some of the initialization has changed.
I call it whenever I get an event selected up here, I call the class. So it empties everything out and then builds it all up.
Can we take a quick look at that? It's just, yes, to aid in the speed that the report controls are built, then yes, basically it builds them into, I'll have to have a look in my code. Let me just move your screen and familiarise myself. It's been a while since I did that bit.
Are you seeing this?
I am, yeah. I'm just looking at something on here as well regarding, yeah, where are we? Create, I think it's create columns. Okay, yeah, right. Okay, so what do you have on yours, John?
Up above this, it loads in the stuff from SQL. So it loads in all of this queue.
Okay.
And then loop it through the queue, and it builds each line item, but that's just setting variables. That's all that's doing.
Where are the columns doing? I can see you've got
stuff.
the
Here's the child rows.
Yeah, where are the columns defined though?
Columns. Gotta be somewhere, right?
I hope so. Maybe have a look at the add column.
Here. So I must be calling this. Yeah.
Where do you only call it once, or do you call it?
Okay, this is a different one, but this is what it's doing.
Right. Okay.
Just create them for each one. So that's calling into here.
Okay. So that is the old way of doing stuff. You got a width. Where's the p width? Can't see got the control. Let me move you onto another monitor. I've been missing part of your screen. Do you have one of the parameters? Is that the width? What comes in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So I should look at the way it's generating now and just update this to use.
I'll quickly show you, but basically what we used to do is exactly what you can see what you've got there now. So you add the column, takes a couple of parameters, the ID, the name, the width. I forget what the next one is. Is it resizable and visible, something like that? And then it would go through and set each one of the properties. So just as you've got there, set column caption, the alignment, the auto size, basically all of these. And we can see straight away there's quite a few there, if you will. And behind the scenes, that then is going off, potentially finding the object and refinding the object and refinding the object and so on, which is doing exactly what it should do. But the thing is, it's not the most efficient. So what we did is we've done it now. So basically, it has you still call the add column as you've got at the start there, and which will create you. And I'll just look this up so I've got the exact code. I'll go through it on my screen in a second just to give you a for instance. Yeah, the add column adds the column to the internal queue definition, but it doesn't physically set the column, add the actual column, as in create the object. Okay, so basically your other things there, like your set column caption, set column alignment, that will no longer work in that style what you've got there. Let me show you on mine. We're happy on what John's got there. So we've got the add column, which would return you a particular object if you wanted it to. It doesn't really matter if it doesn't because you're not using it for that. And then you're going to go and set all these different properties per column, if you will. To get yours working, you could do the add column and then basically start, 1 second, create columns.
Switch to your screen.
Yep, so I was just checking before I showed you. Yeah, but let's go back to my screen and I'll quickly show you what I'm referring to. Oh, thank you, John. I was just looking for that. Okay, so you've got the add column like you have. Okay, but now what I would also do on yours is do a delete all columns before calling, because you're doing lots of adds and so on and so forth. So I would do the delete all columns first, before doing this. That's just good practice. So it tidies up things internally. But yeah, so we do the add column. That will add it to the internal queue definition, and then you can set all the properties just via the queue. You can say, okay. So basically, it's got all these already defined in its queue structure. So if you didn't want to change anything but just say the width, you could just set the dot width. What this means is basically, and then we put it back into that queue, and you do it for each one of the queues. And the last thing you would each one of the queue entries, and then the last thing you would do is call the create columns. That in turn, I'll bring this into view. You've got your add column, and previously this would have created you the physical column and give you an object. So the internal queue, its object internally, it would have been defined, and that would have been populated with the actual raw CodeJock object. Now it's not, and we go to create columns. It has a look at the data binding. Forget that. Yep. If it's not equal to data binding, yeah, that's correct. If it's not data binding, it's going to go through in the order that they should be. So just because you've added them to the one particular order in the definition, might not be the actual order that they have been saved and restored, even though you're not using them. But you could actually, via your code, allow you to reassign the order, dynamically via your code. So it will go through in the order definition on the column, loop through. If it hasn't already got the particular raw object, then it will create it. If it has, fine, it just skips over it. So you can leave your columns defined and not defined, which might help you in hiding and saving. So basically hiding and showing, you could leave all your columns defined once and just set the properties. So basically it's going to go through that queue. If it's already got a column object for it, brilliant. If it hasn't, it will create it, and internally it will store it and know which number from the index it is. Then it's going to go off and call an extra method called set column properties from queue. That in turn is going to go off and hit all of the actual properties all at once, giving you a much faster interface into the actual controller itself, because then we're not going setting one property, potentially causing a redraw, setting another property, then another property, and so on and so forth. We're going to hit all of them at once and then return a true or false back out. If that makes sense. That's one of the last things you probably saw that did all of the things, and then it stores an internal marker to say synchronization of those settings is now true for that one column. Not that. And it puts it back. Marries up your field picker, usual things. But basically, the main thing you're interested in is that create columns has now created those columns as fast as it can in the order with all the attributes that you want. Going forward, you wouldn't have to really. You could just go and change the queue entry via your code. So find the queue entry and set it a few properties all at once. Maybe show, some are shown, some are hidden, that kind of thing. Call that. You'd have to loop through. In fact, no, your easiest thing is just to recall create columns. And it will only go through and change the ones what are actually physically changed. So if you are going to change any, go and change them, but just set the sync complete to false. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you've got 20 columns, but you're only actually going to go and hide and show columns 3, 5, and 7, depending on which order, like in your software you had, and so on. You could leave all the others and just, under one condition, set 3, 5, and 7 to false, to visible false, and maybe change some other things, and set 4, 6, and 8 to visible true. Just set those. Make sure you set the sync complete to false for those columns. Recall this, and it will just go off and basically apply all just the changes at once. The rest of them will remain untouched.
Cool. Okay.
Yep. Which means and the good thing of that is it does mean if there's any data in them, the data can remain loaded because them objects will actually still be there. So you're not actually truly deleting the columns and recreating the columns. What you're doing is just changing the properties of the columns. First time in, you'll be creating the columns, of course. That's fine. But after that, you just be changing properties of them. So it's just like a clarion button on the screen. It's created. You might hide it. You might disable it. You might move it off the screen. You might change its tooltip. It's irrelevant. It's just properties of a control. And it's the same with this.
All right. Okay. I'll do that.
Easy thing. Grab the latest example. Not sure I sent you the latest example actually, but I can do. I'll zip it up and send it to you. But grab the latest example and look at the create columns procedure, and you can see what it's actually going to do. Is go off and do this. Now, of course, you'll already have these loaded and so on and so forth, but that's fine. Actually, you wouldn't want to, on yours, you wouldn't want to, if you're going to do, I just thought on that, you wouldn't want to call the create. If you're only changing a few, change the ones you need and then loop through and just for each one you change, just call a sync. Let me just jump back into your code. I told you wrong on that create. What I might actually do is introduce a new method. Before this release, I'll introduce a new method, which will be resync columns, resync column properties. So you've got set from queue, got create columns. I think I'll do resync column properties. Yeah. Or apply column properties, something. I'll come up with it and I'll let you know what it is. But basically, what that wouldn't want to do is go and overwrite any of your settings. So basically, you'll do exactly what I said before. Change, find your queue entry, change any number of properties for that queue entry that you need to, and unset that, and do your put. And then we basically want to do the loop through and call the sync properties. But I'll create a new method called I think it'll be sync column properties actually, which will take them from the queue and apply them accordingly. So that'll be a much faster thing for you. So I shall do that. And some changes in this. I'll do that tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you needed to, you could just loop it yourself. It's really not hard. But that's all that thing's going to do. It's just going to not call that. It's just going to loop. It's just going to do basically that code there.
Right.
Yeah. But without the create bit. So it's just going to go through, and if it's sync complete equals, do you know what? Let's call it. Let's start it now.
Well,
Let's start.
You have a few other questions. You got a few other questions.
Well, Bill is regarding DockingPane, so we're going to jump on. Although what I've just sent Bill should really help. But yes, we will do. What are we on? 22. We have actually got John and I have both got a meeting at 5 o'clock today, which is 20 minutes time. So actually, in fairness, John, jump online with us tomorrow, and I will send you this updated class with that sync in there. But ultimately, it's going to be basically that code, but without that. So it's literally just that loop through it, and for all the ones what haven't been set, go off and go and re-put them back into sync, and that's it. Really simple. And that approach, everybody, is the exact approach we're going to take with all of the controls. So the DockingPane's the ReportControl has got it. We've actually pinched the technology from the new update of command bars, even though it's not released. The command bars is built entirely on this now, so you can set all properties at once for a control, and that's where we're getting our speed enhancements from. because we're not hitting lots of having to refine the object and so on and so forth and apply lots of changes one at a time, via different class methods. We're doing it all in one go, and that's where we've got our major speed increase from. So what we're going to do is report control's got it, and anything that's got content, which is kind of everything. The task panel, I think task panel hasn't got it yet, but it will have. Command bars is a good chunk of the way through its upgrade of that. There's lots in command bars, as you can imagine. But basically, yes, all shortcut bar, DockingPane, they're all going down this exact same approach to basically get the content built and on the screen as fast as possible. Whew, right, okay, we will quickly jump to one of the questions then, as we've said. Just very quickly before we do jump onto that, I mentioned some other changes. Other changes you've got. Just let me very quickly show you of what you're getting. There's drag and drop, which I know Leo's here somewhere. Leo's waiting for, and that is to do with the drag and drop. And Leo, you feel free to. It's still not fully functional and so on, but I want it in this build before it goes out the door. So feel free to drop me a message tomorrow and I will give you an update, but more realistically, let's say more like Wednesday, to be honest. But yes, drag and drop will be in there. One of the other changes we've done, if I go to, don't know what data we've got in here. Just after simple, there we go, that one. One of the things we've done a bit of work on here, I don't know if anyone's really aware of it, is the locator. I don't know if anyone ever uses this, but basically the report control does have locators. And we've started to, obviously now we are mirroring a lot more of the clarion control, if you will. Then obviously the next in line is we also mirror a lot of the clarion functionality. We've got the insert change delete buttons, we've got the browse no records button, got the print button, the view button, but we've got a basic locator, so now we're starting to expand the locators functionality. So in this one you'll see, yes, it's married to that, but instead of the traditional code jock option, which is match the start of the phrase, we're not. I'm going to go with find the nearest, which is it's like what you would expect from Clarion, if you will. So let's take a quick look at that. Quickly onto here, and I'll put it in, and it works on the particular order you're in. So let's go onto there, and I know it starts with good. And you've not bloody worked. Thanks a lot. Okay, that does work in the other. Did I say case sensitive or anything like that? Oh. No, didn't match case. Okay, better have a look. That should have done exactly what I expected, to be honest. Let's do something different. Jump down to the. I wish I could show it in the other system. Okay. That does work in the other system. I'm not quite sure why I'm not getting on this, but basically, yes, we've got the locators going in, and more similar to the Clarion type locators. There was in the last release the big changes to the built-in save and restore, which is great. But what I didn't realise, there we go, we'd omitted under a particular condition the setting for the add new columns and remove old columns. So that has now been corrected. So basically, yes, any new columns you would add in your design will now be added. So there was a bug there. So that's been repaired. So I'm just digging through my notes of this now. Yeah. And one other option we've just got, but it's literally just in dev, so every chance this might not work, but I'll just I'll try it anyway. It's go on to this one. We've added you a new control template, and I've got the apply search, no apply filter, no. Oh, and I don't want it to be called that, so that will be changed in a second, but basically it's this default layout, so it's a new button which you can add. Yep. And it's default layout, and what that will do is it will, you've got your saved layout, your users, yeah, I told you I've got template errors, so I'm not really surprised. That's literally in dev minutes before we went on air. But basically, you've got your save layouts. Your users will ultimately play about with them. I was going to say screw them up. They won't say screw them up, but they will basically get themselves into a pickle where they've removed some columns and they don't know how to bring them back. So basically, your restore default layout is a bit of a get out of jail free card for yourself, if you will, where it will restore the actual basic layout to what you've shipped from an application point of view. And of course, then they will come out. It will save that and so on. Robert has got I don't know if it's on that or just quickly go to Roberto, sorry. Roberto, are you there? Roberto raised a question, multiple sort orders for report control, selectable on demand, which example? So basically, yes, they are selectable on demand. What he means by that? You can have multiple sort orders, as we all know. So for example, into here, and we could say we want it by received order, by hold down shift, and then subject. So you can see that the R goes before the U. Roberto, are you there? Ah, okay.
Yes, I am here.
Yeah. Or if you want that descending, you hold down the shift, and now you would get the 12, but then in descending. And your locators, when they do work, they do work, honest. Well, they work on the last column sorted, of course. So if you sorted by that first and then that, they would go on the last, as you would expect a locator to work. If you wanted to do that via code for yourself, then you would use the methods. I'm going at quite speed here. Clear, what's it called? Clear sort. Just trying to find it for you.
Simple list, okay.
Oh, they've all got them. The sorting on. To be fair, there is one. Delete all sorts. So if you wanted to remove those, you call a method called delete all sorts, which would remove all of those for you, and then you could just call a method called add sort. Yeah, just add sort with the name of the column. So and then A or a D for ascending or descending. So I think that column is something like received. So basically, let's say you didn't have any sort order. I'll just go back out and go back in. No sort order. So if I called a method called add sort with the column ID for received and then descending, I would end up with it looking like that.
On initialization and whenever you toggle. Right.
You do it whether obviously you require the code. The save and restore will the options of that wasn't in there correctly, so this next build fixes that as well. And the built-in save and restore will actually save and restore your sorting as well. So if you did have it in that descending and then that ascending, then you would get your data sorted. When you came back in, it restores your sorting and it restores your grouping should you want it to.
The save and restore, what's the format does it save it on?
If you use a built-in, then it creates its own table. it's a TPS table, and you get the options to encrypt it and so on and so forth, and the location of it, and they are on the global extension. On the defaults, save and restore. So yes, you're going to use this is the default. You're going to use the built-in. You can assign it to each user should you want to. So I'll put a global user ID in there, so to speak, global variable. And then you can say, what do you want to save the restoring? Do you want to save the sorting, the grouping and the sorting? And what do you want to do with new columns and removed columns, redundant columns? Yeah, if you manually do it, then it's over to you. You save them in whatever you want to save them in, a large C string, a memo, something like that. And you can select the file driver. It's over to you, but basically the example does include examples for both manual and for built-in.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. Right, and then Bill, last one of the day. Let's close that. So Bill, you are there.
Hi, Andy. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. So the DockingPane, you get intermittent issues closing a window. That has DockingPanes many times. It just hangs. Right. I think I said, well, actually, at the start, with it, with me turn Bill on.
Most of the time, actually, Andy, I have to press the close button 2 or 3 times. When I press it the first time, the panes close. If you remember ours, we have 3 panes, the left, the right, and the bottom, and the bottom has the close button on it.
That's right.
So when I press the close button on the bottom pane, the left and right panes close, but the bottom pane remains in the actual pane window.
Yeah.
If I press it 2 or 3 more times, then that will close.
Yeah. No, that because you're on the beta. That is a known. I think I said at the start. There's a couple of niggles which I've still got to finish off. And that is one of the known. So basically, I can once you're online tomorrow, and I know you're online early, let me know, and I will send you an update to take a look at that. So, because I can even. Okay. Oh no, I won't show you on this. Will I show you on this? Just 1 second. Just to show you, not to put anybody off, because this is the beta he's on, so nobody panic. DockingPane standard, no, not that one. Multiple children, try. Could be this one. Then we're going to recompile. Actually, I will recompile.
Do you think that that'll be resolved this week, Andy?
Oh, you'll have that tomorrow. Yep. I know exactly what it is. There's that and some redraws. And when they're done, I am really, really happy with this build. So it's just been one of those, not quite put it off. It's just there was the other things to look at first. But yes, basically, there's all the panes. Initializing much faster now, by the way. But there's all our panes. And I click the close, and you're getting one at a time. Yeah, and it shouldn't. That close should daisy chain all of the closes and let them close sequentially and so on. That's what you're seeing. So don't panic. I've just demonstrated that. I knew exactly what it was, and that's next on the list for the DockingPanes. So you'll get that tomorrow, 100%.
Okay. And then the other problem I'm having is with the task panel. We're creating a very, very large menu that's on the left side task panel.
Okay.
And it's taken a long time to build itself, and we're doing it through the template. If I was to take it out of the template and hand code it, the building, would that solve that and make it faster?
I would say, but it won't be this week, I'll admit. I would say hang fire, because the technology I just demonstrated a minute ago with the with the report control and the creation of the panes, creation of the columns, the task panel is getting the exact same approach. applied to it, where you can still do it to, basically you'll have a queue, and you'll be able to change things in that queue, add things in that queue, even on the fly. So maybe they've completed items 1 and 2, and all of a sudden you now show and enable some extra items. You could add them to that queue, call the create, and it will go off and do extra things on the. That's the approach, but that's coming up in the next release of Task Panel. So, like I said, the command bars has it. It's in progress because there's lots of elements to command bars. ReportControl has it and is released. DockingPane is also having it. It's everything what's got content. So, but the Task Panel, that won't be this week. We're aware that we can make things faster now. We've got this new approach, and dramatically faster. But it's just one product at a time at the moment.
Okay. Early on, you demonstrated that you had a menu for the panes that not opened and closed, but unhided and hid the panes. Is that menu built in the DockingPane menu tab?
No, let me just. Are we talking about this one?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How did you build that? Okay,
so basically, let me jump into that application. How we're doing for time? We've got a couple of minutes.
You have to go through detail. Just a quick.
Yeah, just the approach. Yeah, no problem. What's that one? So it all goes around that menu. The schedule it. Let's see if we're looking because I'm rushing. There it is. So that central area. Let me just bring that back up. That central area here, we consider is the work area. And what we do in the work area is we have lots of panes. Sorry, that's just opened. We have a pane for the dashboard, and this over the coming weeks you'll see a dashboard being built there. We have a pane for the alerts. We have a pane for the locations. We have a pane for every one of these. Okay.
Okay.
Now, on that, there's our docking host window. We've got our docking pane. And I'm just going to show you the dashboard, the alerts, the location, and the medication. They're the ones we've just quickly gone through, there. Okay, so if I just focus on those panes to start with.
Okay.
So we've got dashboard pane. I give that pane, I say it's part of a collection. The wording of that collection can be anything you like, but just have all the panes in that collection use the same case sensitive word. So I call mine work.
Okay.
I just have to consider that the work area. So I've got work. The dashboard's open by default, so it opens visible and opened. And I give it some settings. So I want it the full width, full height, dock to the left. Okay. And here's some options. These are pretty self-explanatory. Window cannot be pane cannot be closed. I don't want it to be closed. It can be hidden. I'd say not floated actually. Okay. The main ones you're interested in are these two. So auto hide other panes in the collection when it's selected, and don't open the child contents until it's been selected. Okay. So you've got those two. Now let's take a look at layouts. Where was it? Cities, locations. Oh, we said alerts. They go alerts. You'll notice it's part of the same collection. This one opens hidden rather than visible. Same two options.
Mm-hmm.
Same size. Okay.
Right.
We look at locations and you'll see it's exactly the same settings. It's part of that same collection. It's hidden. We auto hide other ones. So basically when locations comes into play, basically all the others in work are going to be hidden, which is basically alerts. And basically all of these. We jump down to medication. There you go, medication. That's going to be exactly the same. Work, hidden, so on and so forth. So that will automatically occur for you. And then the only to select those, we have a command bar. That control on the right is a pop-up. So there's our setup, which you saw there. The setup belongs to the info bar at the top. The setup belongs to that. We said it's a button pop-up with some wording and an icon, usual stuff. Then we have our alerts. So I say that belongs to a pop-up called setup, which we've just defined there. There's our alerts. We said you belong to a pop-up, so that's your parent, if you will. And when you press it, I want you to select a docking pane called alerts. That's the idea of that pane, and it forces it to come into visibility, forces it to come into view. And we do that on all of these. The only thing
I follow.
Yeah, and we've got the recording, and it'll be, it's Clarion Live, so it's live anyway, and the recording will be up in the morning after I've done my conversion, so it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. The only extra thing you would want to do is on the command bar, click third-party support and link it to the docking pane, so that when you tell it to select a docking pane, it knows of which class to talk to.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll get a compile error because it'll be trying to call a method that it hasn't a clue what it belongs to.
Right. Understood. Very good. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate
No problem.
it.
Bit rushed, but you've got the principle. But contact me tomorrow, and I'll get you the that docking pane. And as I say, I know it's a close. It's the very next thing which I was working on until we applied this new update into this smart application which we work on, and that's where we started getting the issue, the GPF. But hand on heart, we've not had any particular issues. It's miles better. We didn't get it in Schedule It, we didn't get it in Turando, but in the Smart app, it really did demonstrate it a lot more. I wouldn't say it was every time, but let's say it was 2 out of 10 times or 3 out of 15 times, that kind of thing. Or sort of, that's obviously it's every 5, but it weren't. It was them kind of numbers. On my machine, on Wengel's machine, it could be slightly different, and on the client's sandbox machine, it could be different again. But the new approach, especially the loading of the themes, which we covered at the start, which I really do think you should adopt, we've not had one hiccup of it. So that's, by far our best option.
Okay, thank you.
So, cool. Okay. And one quick question off Bill. Not you, Bill. Different Bill. Sorry. Right, I'll close up there, and then we will wrap it up. Sorry for the rush, people. It's just we've got a meeting to attend. Started 5 minutes ago. It's for both John and I. See you tomorrow, Wengel. Bill Rawlins. Bill, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I just was curious. You got you're showing stuff on 4.1HC report control, and the docking panes you're showing 4.06H. But if I go to the website, we're seeing.
You'll be looking at the one before, so 417 and 405, 405 respectively. Yeah, the letter on the end, like the 418C, that's a telltale, because that means it's a beta that we've got in dev. So like the command bars, that's using an official build of 407, even though I know 408 and a letter. But if I go to say that report control, I know that's going to be, that might be using a.
No, I understand that. I just wondering when you're going to have those up.
Yes. Well, the report control this week. Definitely this week. I'm really happy on committing to that. And the docking pane, once I've done the close and a couple of redraws, I'd like the docking pane out this week, to be fair, as well. There's absolutely no reason why not, because I am really happy with that new the stability in the build. I could apply the new speed technology to it, but it's been on beta for it's been long enough in the dev, so I think I'll get it out the door, and then I'll do the speed increase optimization as a second quick successive build to it, so we can get the gold out of the door sooner rather than later. So yeah, you really can expect them kind of this week.
Okay.
With
that was
with the restore default layout and the locator, which I wish I could show the other system. I really do. I might ask permission one of these days just to show it. That said, there's probably a lot of sensitive data. But yes, basically we've got the locators working in there and so on, and they work a treat. I have no clue why they didn't work in our test app there, but that's fine. I'm really not really bothered about that. It's just going to be something and nothing. But yeah, so yeah, you can expect them anytime.
Okay, thanks.
Right, and with that, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to wrap it up because, as I say, it's we've got a meeting to attend regarding other cladding stuff, as things do. So yes, so thank you everybody. Recording will go up and be converted any minute now, and next week it looks like we will have lots of stuff to talk about on updates wise. So until then, bid you all a good week. Thank you very much.